I get so caught up in the middle, thinking of drowning in those blue eyes. I'm losing sight 'cause I am falling. I'm so deep down, and it's not a lie that I die. I can't hide what this is. Yeah, I keep drowning in those blue eyes, and you can tell me all of your lies. I will put out all of the fire if it gets too dark. I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. I have just finished up my cardio and my posing and my vacuums, and I am exhausted. It is so warm. I just turned the car on there to open the window and it says it's 25 degrees and it's like 7 a.m. in England. What on earth is going on? So it was a very, very sweaty one today, but I'm feeling good. So as much as I am going to document my day today, the main focus of this video is going to be talking you through my post-show experiences. I have competed 3 times, once in 2019 and twice in 2020. Sorry, forgot the year then. So they were quite a while apart from each other. There was 18 months between shows, and I just want to talk you through because I've not had the same post-show experience twice, and it's something that I also get a lot of questions on. I was quite honest in my struggles post-show with my last one, and I think that just going over all the different types of experiences I've had will be beneficial to somebody. I'll chat you through my first post-show experience once I get home and have some breakfast and shower because I'm so disgusting, so sweaty, so hungry. Let's get me home. Okay, it is now just before 9, I think, yeah, just before 9, and I am about to sit down and crack through all my check-ins, but I thought I would just pop down and talk you through show number 1. So I'll pop a little picture of myself at the show just here, and this was my first ever show. It was a good prep. I won my show, and I had decided, so Nikki was competing the weekend after, and I had decided that I wanted to wait for him to finish his show before I really ate anything massively off plan. I wanted to celebrate it together. Little did I know I would not get the choice. After I came off show, I had a big bowl of oats with some chocolate in it, some nut butter. It was amazing. Absolutely loved it. And the next morning I woke up and I had my normal eggs. I had like some chicken and veg and rice on the way back up the road, I think. And then Nikki went to train and I just went for a walk. I stuck to my plan as I said I would, and that day, that was the Sunday, was absolutely fine. Come Monday, I stuck to my plan for the beginning of the day, and then midday I got so ill. I was working as a PT at the time, and I ended up like throwing up in the gym toilet. I was like bent double. I was like, is this my post-show digestion issues? I thought that's what it was, and he was like, oh yeah, sometimes I've been really ill, but it's weird, you didn't eat loads. And I was so confused because I hadn't had anything out of the ordinary, and I'd been totally fine the day before, and it just didn't add up. So I ended up going home and I just couldn't keep anything down. I ate 2 rice cakes. I think I threw those back up. It was just not great. Turns out I had a sickness bug, and this sickness bug lasted for about a week and a half. To put in perspective how ill I was 50 kilos on show day. That was my stage weight. And by the Wednesday after my show, I was 46 kilos. So I lost 4 kilos in 4 days because I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't barely keep water down. It was coming out one end or the other, if you know what I mean. And it was not enjoyable. By the time we got to Nikki's show the next weekend, I was having to take lots of anti-sickness and anti-diarrhea medication so that I could last it through the day. And then the day after, we went out in Glasgow for the day, not like drinking or anything, just eating some nice food. And I really tried, but there was some points where I was like, I can't eat anymore, I have to take a step back. Now, that is a very rare thing to happen, is you pick a sickness bug of that degree up post-show. And what this did was it meant that I did not want any food. And even when I wasn't being sick anymore, my appetite was not there. I wasn't fazed by food at this point. I was like, I'm over it. I had to ease myself back into plan. And to be honest, my appetite wasn't great, so I was keeping my food low. I will probably insert a picture now of how I looked even after this was a few weeks of like off season, and I wasn't really pushing my food out very much. I think I stayed about that 5 kilos above stage weight, which is that like magic number they tell you not to go above, but I now know that that is not something I would advise. But yeah, that was the, like, for a first post-show experience, and post-show was something I was really worried about, and it just wasn't normal because I had the opposite of what normally happens. I had no appetite, I was not food focused at all, and I had been quite food focused during my prep, and I'd been so excited for the food after the show, but just didn't happen. And it did mean that I reversed very, very slowly, but not because I'd had to try, and that is the key thing. So that was my first ever like post-show experience. I competed once that year. After I got sick, I was like, I can't compete again after the illness, so I didn't. Reversed into what was a 12-month off season, and I'm gonna leave it there, and I will catch up with you in a bit about my second post-show. For now, I am going to crack on with my check-ins. Got my laptop here. Thursday is a busy check-in day, and I will just crack on with those. I am dressed very summery, but after the 25-degree heat at 7 a.m, it's now grey and cloudy. England, gotta love it. So it's now about 2 o'clock. So I did all my check-ins, we went into town and had a couple of coffees at a nice little cafe, and I've just had my third meal of the day, which was a chicken and sweet potato, and it was lovely. One of my favourites at the moment. And I thought I would just take this opportunity, as I've got a little bit of time, to chat over my second post-show experience. So as I said last time, I was in a 12-month off season, and I then began prep I was aiming for shows for July time. However, COVID happened, lockdown happened, and those shows got pushed till September. So I had a long prep, and I was so eager to get on stage. And the momentum of that prep was so good. I was in such a good mindset. I enjoyed the process so much. I have very, very little negative to say about the prep up until that first show. I was completely happy with it, and the show day itself went well. I will maybe do another video about my show day experiences. If that is something that you'd be interested in, please leave a comment. But yeah, I was really happy with that prep, and when I got on stage, it was great. And especially in my open class, I was so happy with how that went, and I won my class. I came second in the junior category, and I was in the overall. It was just a really, really good day, and that was at the British finals, and that was the 5th of September 2020. After the show, I was instructed by my coach at the time to have the Sunday fully off plan, just enjoying some food, and then on the Monday to about the Wednesday I was tracking macros, and then I was back on plan. At this point I had no other plans to compete, but as soon as I stepped off stage I was like, I want to do that again. And I was already pretty set that I was going to do the Ben Weider 4 weeks later. I was so focused post-show that I was enjoying food with my family. Like, me and Nikki had 5 guys, we had it was me, Nikki and my mum were at a show. We had sushi that night. We ordered so much sushi. I'll pop a picture of it here. It was insane. We just totally over-ordered, and it was just a really, really good experience. And because I was so set on getting back on plan, getting back to the stage, I wasn't asked about food. After that one day of enjoying my food and making some memories, I was set, and I was like, nope, I want to get back on this. I want to smash my next part of my prep. And so I then got back on plan and decided that was it. We're now prepping for the Ben Weeder. And because I was so focused, I did not struggle with food focus for the next kind of couple of weeks in that immediate post-show period. However, as I got closer to the next show, things began to take a bit of a turn, and I'll probably discuss that more when I discuss the next post-show experience, because it's more relevant to that. But I actually found the time between shows I was able to adhere because I had that accountability, and especially for the first few weeks, I was literally like, I just want to bring my best again. I want to level up. So that is my second post-show experience. Up until this point, I was still quite nervous because I felt like I had yet to experience the post-show that people talk about, and that will lead me into my third post-show experience. But yeah, that's just a little summary of my second one. Obviously it's a bit different because I was competing again and it wasn't the end of a competitive season, but I do still count it as a post-show because I do know that sometimes people struggle between shows after coming off plan and having an off-plan meal. That's all I have to say about that one. It's now about 2 o'clock. I'm probably just going to run out and get some steps. I have a posing lesson with Phoebe at 2:30, which I'm really excited for. I've not had one with her for a few weeks, so I'm definitely going to keep those up during my prep. And I then have a very quick introduction posing lesson with a client. So an hour-ish of posing, and then tonight me and Nikki are actually going to go to the cinema, so I'm very excited for that. We don't do things like that often. Cinemas actually haven't been open that long anyway, so first cinema trip since we've lived here. And our cinema now is like the Odeon Lux with the recliners, so absolutely buzzing. Okay, I apologise for my rosy cheeks because I have not long finished my posing session with Phoebe, which was amazing. Some more small tweaks to make to my posing, so that's really exciting. And I've also just done a really kind of basic posing startup for one of my first timers for next year, so that is really exciting as well. But I'm now just going to take a while to chat you through what happened after my last show, so my final post-show experience, and what I would say was probably my most stereotypical post-show experience. Because like I just said earlier, with my first ever show, because I got ill, I did not experience any of the cravings and that trying to reverse when you're starving kind of mentality. There's a lot to go into. So I'm going to sit you up so that I can sit myself down and just really chat over everything. Hey guys, sorry, me from the future. I just need to chime in before I get into this and say that I missed out one of the most important parts about this reverse kind of diet / post-show period. And that was that during this prep and during the beginning of 2020, I went through a lot of emotional family stuff that I just buried in prep because I was just focusing on my prep and I ignored it. And then obviously once my prep ended, there was just so much stuff I had to deal with, lots of issues with like myself, my own emotions, with family. There was a lot of changes and a lot of things happened that year, and because I buried everything, it just meant I had to deal with it then. So yeah, that was another major point that I missed out of this, is that maybe had I not gone through what I went through during that year, that it may have been slightly different, because I was also feeling the pressure from having to deal with all of that at the same time as well. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the clip. Sorry for this little interrupting, it was just an important part that needed to be added in. Sorry, I am still in my posing suit from posing, but honestly, it's just too hot in here and the window doesn't open, so it is what it is. But I just wanted to go over this properly. When I last left off in this story, I was between those two shows. And like I said, for the first 2 weeks between the British finals, which was 5th of September, to the Ben Weeder, which was my last show, which I think was the 4th of October or sometime around the beginning of October, it was 4 weeks. And for the first 2 weeks between shows, I was fine. In that time, I tried to push for more condition. I just did a whole Instagram post on this, so if you head over to my Instagram, you'll see what I mean about the judges' feedback. But basically I was told to come in a bit leaner, and I really pushed for it. I didn't have any refeeds in those 4 weeks. Cardio was very high, food was very low, and I was getting really stressed, especially from the final 2 weeks before my show. I was dead, and I didn't feel like I could communicate this at the time because I didn't want to feel like I was failing. I didn't want to feel like I wasn't trying really hard to bring that condition. I was trying so hard, and that penultimately was my downfall because I couldn't communicate how much I was struggling. The look suffered, and my body looked stressed, looked tired, and looked kind of over dieted by the time I got to stage that second time. So I really learnt my lesson. And also in those last 2 weeks, I found myself not enjoying the process quite as much because of that fact. I felt like I couldn't communicate how I felt, and that's on me. And because of that, I ended up becoming quite food focused. Now, I will just put here as well that what I'm about to talk about might trigger some people. It might be a bit upsetting, so if you have any problems with anything like this, please stop watching. I won't take offence, but this is just my honest interpretation of what happened. I became very food focused, and the whole of my prep, I hadn't bought any treats, I hadn't stored any food because I was like, I don't want to do that to myself, I know that's going to be bad. But in the last 2 weeks, instead of watching videos doing my cardio of people winning their pro cards and following people's prep journeys, which is what I had done the entire time, I was then watching 10 and 20k calorie challenges. I was watching penultimate cheat days and things like that on YouTube, and I became so food focused. I then ended up going out and buying food, which is not like me at all, and I got like a store up of food. And actually, when I drove down to my show, so I actually went down to the show on my own, and when I was stopping at service stations on the way, I was picking up like new out chocolate bars and things. Bearing in mind, I haven't eaten a chocolate bar just randomly in ages. I went round Tesco's the night before my show, and I picked up some extra treats, and I had a stash under my bed. Now, when I got to that show, I was on my own. I felt quite stressed. I actually turned up to the hotel and I booked the wrong week for one of my nights in the room, but I just felt very stressed and very on edge. The show day itself was lovely. I felt like I was actually more relaxed on that show day because I knew what was happening, and I already knew a bunch of the girls backstage from competing before, so it was really nice to have some laughs and chill and get on stage again. And I felt so much more confident with my stage presence and things at that show, which was a huge win for me. And at the time I was just so happy with the package I was bringing, because in my head I was like, I'm leaner, so I must be better, which I now know is not the case, but that's how I felt at the time, and I was really happy with that. So in my class, I placed third in my open. I also competed in juniors and I didn't place, and I'm never going to argue with a placing, but I'm not going to lie, I was a bit disappointed, and it was my final show of the season, and I knew that was because I was so done. Like I said, I pushed hard. I'm really shocked that I pushed through in the same way that I did. I was on my own. My show didn't go as well as I would have liked. I went back to my hotel room and I just felt quite lonely. I ordered a Domino's to my room, and while I was waiting for the Domino's to arrive, I started tucking into my stash of snacks. I don't normally eat Domino's, and I hadn't had a Domino's from that point since probably 2018. So it'd been like 2 full years since I'd really had a Domino's, and it made me so ill. I was alone and I was spewing up all night in my hotel room, on the floor in the bathroom with stomach cramps. I was sad. and I felt really alone. And the next day my digestion was just so bad, and I would been so food focused and so like I just could not wait to eat that food, and all of a sudden I couldn't because my digestion was so bad. When you're in that mentality, I was like, this is my chance to eat, and I really wanted to, and it just wasn't agreeing with me, and so I was being ill again, and it wasn't great. That food focus and how food focused I'd been just ended up in that self-sabotaging behaviour. And much like that first show, my coach gave me 2 days off plan, then a few days on macros, and then sent me a plan to follow after that. When my digestion messed up with that Domino's and I couldn't really eat on the Sunday, I was travelling back up the road from London anyway, so I was just stopping at services. I was buying like fruit pots and couldn't finish them because I felt so ill. I felt like I was missing out on my opportunity to eat, because I'd been given this magic window of like 48 hours to eat whatever I wanted, and I couldn't barely eat anything because my stomach was so bad. And that stuck with me for a while, which I know is not right, and I'm gonna get into in a while what I'm gonna do differently this year to make sure that I don't repeat last year's mistakes. But anyway, coming back to this show, I just felt like I needed to get anything I could in now, because that magic window was going to end, and it did end, and I didn't get to eat a lot of food because I just didn't feel well. And I then let that kind of haunt me for the next few weeks. Now, what I'm about to say again is no reflection on the coaching or anything like that, and I understand why my coach tried to reverse me the way that she did, and it's not a bad thing at all. But in the mindset I was in, I just wanted to eat. I was so hungry and my body was so tired, and the diet, the way it was structured, I actually wasn't having any carbs on rest days. My cardio had been cut completely, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything, but I was also starving. And it felt like this constant mental battle of like, I want to eat so bad, but I also feel really lazy, and I felt weak in the gym, and I was struggling so much mentally. And there was a few times when I had binges. It's probably the first time I've ever actually had a binge, in terms of it was almost that out of body experience where it didn't actually matter what I ate. I was just mindlessly going through the cupboards and like just eating whatever I could find. Basically, I just spent a lot of time beating myself up about being stuck in this cycle. And then obviously alongside that, I was gaining weight quickly, which meant my coach couldn't put my food up. And so I was stuck on this diet plan where food was fairly low, or at least carbs were fairly low, which was something I was so focused on at the time. And I just, like I said, I just felt trapped. I felt like there's no way out of this. And that basically kind of was one of the things that led to the decision for me to let Nikki take over my coaching, was that I knew that I could talk to him and express to him how I was feeling. And it was just, I had this hunger that never ever went away, that I just wasn't prepared for, because technically I'd done post-show twice before, and I was like, well, if I've done it twice, surely this time will be alright. And it was just such a different experience, and because it kind of took me by surprise, I wasn't prepared for it. And also all this stress of me feeling trapped in myself, the binging, and I was then like trying to add in random bits of extra cardio post-workout when I was at my home gym, like getting on the treadmill or the cross trainer and just sprinting, just trying to burn off some calories from the binge I'd had the night before. And I was in this horrible cycle that I couldn't get out of, and it affected my health and my hormones so much. My stress was up, my anxiety was up, and my hormones never got better for a long time after my show, because I was stuck with my daily food so low for so long because of my binging, basically. Because I was stuck in that mindset for probably a good month post-show, a month and a bit before Nikki took over my coaching, it meant that there was quite a bit of damage already done. By the time Nikki took over my coaching, I had already gained quite a lot of weight from my stage. I would say I was maybe about 7 or 8 kilos up already in 6 weeks. my body didn't feel good, I was watery, I was bloated, and like I said, my hormones still weren't functioning the way they should. I've learned so much from that experience that I will not repeat again. And I'm not going to say it's normal, but a lot of competitors, probably more than people would like to admit, do suffer with those kind of problems post-show, especially for their first. I'll do everything in my power to not let that happen again, and I know exactly what I'll do next time, and I am going to go over that next in this video. But I'm going to stop there because I've been talking in the same spot for a while, but I just wanted to talk mainly about that experience because something I've always been not embarrassed to share but reluctant to share, because it makes it sound like I'm bashing the sport, which is not it at all. It was on me. I wasn't prepared. I wouldn't communicate, and I became withdrawn and inward looking to the point where I thought I should be able to handle this. Why can't I handle this? And I was beating myself up for that reason, when I should have just put my hand up and said, I need help. And I didn't. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to stop rambling. But long story short, after I got Nikki on board to help me, we put my carbs up on every day to make sure that I was eating food that was voluminous and filled me up, and I was always being open and honest with him about how I felt. It gets better, and if you're stuck in that situation now, just know that it will end at some point. I'm gonna head now. I need to prep some meals, and I will catch up with you later to tell you my tips and what I personally will not do post-show next time. Everyone's different, so totally up to you, but this will be what I do next time to make sure that I do not repeat that experience. Not in gym clothes. This doesn't look like anything special, but whey, yogurt, nut butter, all mixed up. My favourite thing. So we are back from the cinema. It was a really good film actually. We went to see Nobody. So I'm not normally a massive fan of anything with a lot of violence, but yeah, that was a good film. It's now about 8:30. I'm about to tuck into yogurt that you just saw, and I wanted to chat over what I will be planning, because obviously I know that things can't be predicted, what I plan on doing post-show this time around to avoid the situation I got into last time. Number one is I will not be ordering something or eating something on the night of the show that I know my body is not used to. A greasy pizza being the main one. I'm going to insert a picture here of what I looked like the day after that. It wasn't pretty. I will also not be looking at YouTube videos, food challenges, researching loads of places to eat, planning out everything. It just made me so food focused, and it just wasn't worth it. In the end, you don't actually fancy half of the stuff when you're actually in the moment, and you just get yourself so fixated on food that you don't think as much about the process. Third thing is I won't be doing the same kind of structure after it. So this, as I said before, I had 2 days that were like told to be totally off plan. Then I went to macros, and then I went to a structured plan. For me, I want to have that structured plan available immediately, and rather than having my kind of off plan meals limited to just those 2 days post show, I'll probably want to have one the day after the show, but then I would rather save it, and maybe the weekend after that, when I have time to go to like a local restaurant with Nikki, go and see my mum, or you know, things like that. I would rather save those off-plan meals for times that matter to me and for memories, rather than last time it was like a Monday morning and I was sat in the house on my own eating, and it's so not worth it. I've forgotten what number I'm on already, but I won't be putting trying to keep my carbs super low. It's definitely initially, it can always be pulled back, but I think just mentally knowing that I've got energy going in, I will put those carbs in. And I also took a full week rest from the gym, which, as much as I know the benefit of that, I think even just going in and doing some sort of light pump work, maybe keeping some form of cardio in even after a few days rest, would really mentally help me. I think the combination of the food changing, suddenly doing no exercise, it really messed with my head, and I will definitely make a little bit of a change to however that works. Obviously I'll do what Nikki tells me, but it's something that we'll probably discuss together so that we avoid what happened last time. And lastly, I'll just communicate if I'm feeling a certain way, if something is upsetting me, it's going to be much easier to be able to communicate with Nikki. I mean, he'll be able to tell if I'm upset or unhappy anyway, and that's just going to make life so much easier. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about post-show experiences or anything like that, please put them in the comments. But thank you so much for watching. Like I said, it's about 8:30 at night now, so I'm just going to sign off here. My meal is due in a couple of minutes, so I'm just going to tuck into that, have a chilled night, and I will catch up with you all next week. But please like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.